The Boston bombing was a horrific tragedy, and whoever was behind this event deserves to be brought to justice. Unfortunately, there's a great deal of evidence that indicates that this isn't going to happen. The mainstream media and government authorities are hiding the real story. In this video, we are going to demonstrate that at the very minimum, the authorities had prior knowledge of the attack and allowed it to happen. Now, the first anomaly that surfaced immediately after the bombing was an eyewitness account indicating that there were government agents on the scene and on the roof right before the blast. This eyewitness account can be confirmed by looking at photographic evidence before and after the event. There are pictures clearly showing someone on the roof and several men wearing identical pants, boots, and shirts and listening to communications through devices in their ears. These men were positioned right next to the blast zone, then later moved across the street just before the bomb went off. These same men were then seen communicating with authorities after the explosion. One photo shows one of these men walking around on the scene with an unidentified device. Another shows someone crouching next to a backpack in a doorway. This photographic evidence opens up another can of worms because these uniforms match the dress code of a private security company called Kraft International. And in one of the photos, a logo can be seen on one of their hats that seems to match the Kraft International logo. Neither the mainstream media nor government officials have made any mention of the contractors. And when government officials were confronted, they refused to answer the question.
Next question, please. Next question, please. Yes.
So there's a lot more evidence of a cover-up that we aren't even going to touch here because it would open up way too many tangents. If you do a little research on your own, you'll find plenty of information. Just what we showed here clearly indicates that the Sarnoff brothers weren't acting alone if they were indeed involved in the bombing. However, their parents have come forward stating that their sons had been in contact with the FBI for years and that they were framed by the US government. There are also serious questions concerning the death of the older brother. The mainstream media released this footage of someone closely resembling him being placed under arrest, alive and well. Yet shortly after, it was reported that he was killed in a shootout. Just like in the Dorner case, it seems like someone didn't want these men to get the chance to stand trial. Of course, the authorities haven't commented on this at all. What really happened? Well, we won't know unless there's a real investigation, which at this point seems highly unlikely.
Whoa. Are you trying to say that the government was involved in a plot to kill and injure its own citizens? That's crazy talk.
Really, you think so? Funny, Ted Gunderson, a former FBI chief, has a different point of view.
Look at the terrorist acts that have occurred. The CIA behind most, if not all of them. We had the Marine barracks. We had our embassy in Kenya. We had Pan Am 103. We had the USS Cole. We had Oklahoma City. We had the World Trade Center in 1993.
So if this event was engineered by the government or intentionally allowed to happen, what's the motive? Well, let's look at how the government responded. Just 2 days after the attack, Senator Lautenberg announced he was going to reintroduce legislation requiring background checks for the sale of gunpowder. And as we warned in a previous video, while everyone was distracted by these events, they passed the CISPA internet bill in the House. Now it just has to go through the Senate. Also under this cover, the president signed a law called S-716, which basically gutted the Stock Act, which was intended to make it harder for the legislative and executive branches from engaging in insider trading. The media distraction conveniently kept the attention off of this. However, the most disturbing aspect of this situation is the way they used it to roll out martial law on the streets, using the exact armored vehicles we had exposed in a previous video entitled Government Preparing for a Collapse, and not in a nice way. We saw these militarized SWAT teams searching from house to house with no warrants. The streets looked like a war zone. This was a further extension of the abuses we saw in the Dorner case. What they are doing right now is conditioning the American people for police state justice, where suspects are hunted down by paramilitary forces which break down people's doors at will, and where suspects are mysteriously killed without getting a chance to stand trial. This is what the NDAA looks like, people. They didn't make these laws for nothing, and what we're seeing is just the beginning. Make no mistake, the people who are really behind this event aren't going to stop. There's more to come, and the violations of your rights are going to become more and more blatant. The powers that be are building up to something big. I don't pretend to know what that event is, and I don't pretend to know when it's going to happen. But I will say this, if we allow them to get away with this now, eventually these scenes that we saw in Watertown are going to be directed at political dissidents. All of the signs that your government is preparing for a full police state crackdown are right in front of your eyes. We've shown in previous videos how the government is buying up billions of rounds of hollow point ammunition, setting up plans and training employees for military detention camps for US citizens, and buying up thousands of military-grade armored vehicles like we saw being deployed in Watertown. I understand that this is extreme, and that some of you may be hesitant to share this information with others. But if you see what's at stake here, then you have the responsibility to do everything in your power to wake people up. The embarrassment you may feel when someone calls you a conspiracy theorist or something along those lines is nothing compared to the consequences of allowing these criminals to proceed unhindered. Please make a commitment to reach out to as many people as you can, especially the police, the military, and the DHS. There are good men and women in these organizations. We've got to get their attention. We've got to help them realize where this is going. If we fail, in the not too distant future, you're going to wake up and realize that you're living in a full-out military dictatorship. And when that day comes, it's going to be too late. If you'd like more content like this, please subscribe to this channel, Stormclouds Gathering on YouTube. For updates and bonus content, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/StormCloudsGathering, on Twitter at Collapse Updates, and our website, stormcloudsgathering.com.
The biggest event in my close to 18 years on air happened today. Paul Watson, one of my best researchers, was about to come on as a guest. And he said, Alex, they have these big sites with data dumps of photos and news feeds. There are guys in uniforms, the same boots, the same pants, the same black shirts and coats with backpacks all over the last mile. And there's people walking around with what looks like detonators in their hands. And all this is going on. And then there's like patsies whose bags match the wreckage of what the news put on air and said was the remains of the black canvas bags. So we went on air with this, and 5 minutes after, it's during break, and I watch Wolf Blitzer panicking going, I guess they're going to arrest somebody later, and they've got all this evidence, and it's footage from inside a shopping center. And I'm like, well, wait, that's the footage we've got. And so they were responding right then because they already knew about this. These were public videos and photos for almost 2.5 days. And it was hiding in plain view because all over it are men wearing Navy SEAL caps with the Punisher logo that all the SEAL teams wear, identical to what Chris Kyle wore. And you see Chris Kyle in his photos wearing the tan combat boots, the tan pants, the black shirt. Same deal over and over again. And we have the photos and the videos of all of this. And we have the eyewitnesses who've confirmed that indeed they were told, it's a drill, don't worry about guys in backpacks everywhere.
There was people on the roof with binoculars looking down onto the athletes' village at the start. There was dogs with their handlers going around sniffing for explosives. And we were told on a loud announcement that we shouldn't be concerned. This was just a drill.
So there were all these black backpacks so that police who weren't compartmentalized couldn't stop what was happening. And the real evidence of this being a false flag is that they've covered up that, and they lied about it in the press conference, the drill that's now been confirmed, that was in the Boston Globe, that was covered in News 15. And since then, National News and others have talked to the marathon coach that witnessed all this, announcing, everybody be calm, don't worry about the guys with the backpacks. You see the photos, the men that look like SEALs, they look like military, bottom line, are standing around in control of the situation with their backpacks on their cell phones, right in the area across the street where the bomb goes off, where they have the patsy. And I said, if this is the real patsy, because his straps of his backpack match the FBI photos of what was left of the backpack, they won't be able to release this now because we have all the John Doe number 2s, 3s, 4, 5s, and 6s already digitally online. It isn't like Oklahoma City where the feds could declare, hey, we're going to say national security on all these 17 surveillance cameras and confiscate the VHS. This is out there. And so then they announce, we have arrested the suspect. We're going to release it. And then they said, well, now we're not, and there's not going to be a press conference, and there wasn't an arrest. Ladies and gentlemen, we have absolutely blown their program wide open because they can't show the patsies who are right there where the flags were, right there where the bomb went off, on all these different video cameras, showing different angles of it and photos. They can't show that when they're surrounded by guys in kind of the off-duty Navy SEAL uniform that the general public doesn't notice, but that is black shirts, black jackets, and khakis and tan combat boots. This is incredible, ladies and gentlemen. This is off the charts. And the media is like, well, we've never heard of this before. They didn't arrest the guy, and they've evacuated the courthouse he was supposedly in, and for whatever cover up. And now there won't be a press conference, and who knows what's going to happen with Obama tomorrow now. The whole script is screwed up because people basically looked at what was happening. So if a tree fell in the forest and no one was there to hear it, did it make a sound? We're here watching this, the drills, our reporters at the press conference. They're acting incredibly suspicious as soon as he brings up false flag and drills at the press conference.
Was there any prior knowledge, Joe? Because according to BostonGlobe.com, they said they were doing drills this morning for the same exact thing that happened, according to BostonGlobe.com. Now, was you guys given any warning ahead of time of this taking place?
As I said earlier, there was no specific intelligence. We certainly increase our posture around a big event like this. All of those things happened in preparation for this event, but there was no specific intelligence that anything was going to happen.
Did you take any questions?
Oh, sir, why were loudspeakers telling people in the audience to be calm moments before the bomb went off? Is this another false flag stage attack to take our civil liberties and put more Homeland Security sticking their hands down on the pants on the streets?
No. Next question.
That's it. Why was people being told prior?
9:30 tomorrow morning.
Why was people being told prior to the bombs going off to stay calm? That's a false flag, gentlemen. Just to put more TSA on the street to rob our civil liberties.
These are the signs. And then you have Bush, Cheney, and Obama being indicted by a congressional bipartisan committee for premeditated torture and telling the military to carry out criminal torture. You've got that coming out while this is happening. There is a major shakeup at every level. And the fight for the heart and soul of this country is happening right now. But this is unprecedented. And folks, you know I don't go on air and say this is the biggest thing ever without it being huge. This is hands down the most out of control, wild, breaking news that we've ever brought to you. And quite frankly, I don't want to be the person breaking this. This is incredibly dangerous. I just hope all of you viewing this realize the magnitude of it. Go to Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, get the photos, the videos, archive it, put it on your blogs, because they can't roll out the patsies now that, the bombs blow up and they're running with their clothes half off like a cartoon character or something. They can't do that now because all their people in the drill are there. And again, the drill is used where most people in the drill aren't involved, but that way you could just detonate a bomb with somebody in the drill and then blame it on them. But you bring the patsies in, the Lee Harvey Oswalds, the Tim McVeighs, to be part of this. This is unprecedented. And, I went and bought champagne 4 years ago when the Copenhagen documents came out that they were fraudulently lying about global warming to create a global tax. I popped champagne on the air. I called it a Death Star exploding event. This dwarfs that. If you take this news and get it out to people, this is a huge defeat. I mean, this is a huge defeat and a testament to the people. This false flag is in chaos. I commend the crew. I commend you, the viewers and listeners. It's up to you whether this thing gets millions of views. Everybody needs to see this. They are in disarray right now. I've talked to Dr. Pachenik and others. Clear false flag to basically go after the American people. This is amazing. This is a devastating victory, especially if we use it. So back to InfoWars Nightly News. The rest is up to you.